many of our volunteers are still out in our sign-up area and might be for a few minutes. So I'm going to circle back to that. We want to make sure that we recognize their work and also kind of try to help you make sure to know, to put a face with the name that you might be emailing or calling with questions. Excuse me. A few housekeeping things. If you haven't found your way to the restroom yet, there is a hallway outside of the sanctuary on this side, and the women's restroom is located in the hallway. For men, you have to go all the way down, and then it's even a little bit further over there. So hopefully you can find it that way. A little bit about our agenda today. Given the choice of getting everyone out of here in about 2.5 hours and covering everything there is to know about popcorn, we're going to err on the side of being respectful of your time. There's a lot of information in our presentation. This is going to get posted to the council website. You also have your guidebook, and you have a full slate of volunteers that you can reach out to for questions. So if you feel like we haven't covered something as adequately as you would like, just please encourage you to reach out to us afterwards. But we don't want to talk about popcorn for 8 hours either. So to help with that also, we're going to ask you to save questions until the end. And there should be a blank page in that unit guidebook that you received that you can jot down some notes or questions. If you need an ink pen, I believe we have pens out at the sign-in tables as well, and you're welcome to run out there and grab one real quick. And again, that's just all to hopefully help make us a little more efficient. So the day's agenda, we're going to do a main presentation here with everyone. After that is done, we'll do a quick Q&A session here. And then we're going to have, if you're representing a Cub Scout pack, we'll have you stay here in this room. If you are representing a Scouts BSA troop or a ship or a crew, we'll ask you to step out to the tables and stools that are out in the entryway and towards the back of the building a little bit. That'll give us an opportunity to maybe just talk about a few of the specifics about how to run it in a pack versus how to run it in a troop, because I do believe there are some differences that are worth calling out. And then when that's done, we'll all quickly reconvene in here where we have some illustrious door prizes to thank you for your time. And if you did not get your own raffle ticket, please speak up and make sure that we get you one. It shouldn't be just one per unit. We figure everyone here is giving up their morning, so we want everyone to have a chance at winning this great stuff. And then at the end of the door prize, you have an option. If you're feeling set and you want to leave, you're welcome to take off and enjoy the rest of your Saturday. We will also have one last kind of breakout group, which is really intended for first-year colonels. If this is your first year doing this and you're like, what have I gotten myself into? We welcome you to stick around, and we'll spend another 20, 30 minutes chatting with you. Or even if you're not a first-year colonel and there's something that we've covered today that you want to dive into more, please stick around and hear that out as well. It looks like a lot of our volunteers are still in the back, so I'll return to their introductions first. But right now, I would like to introduce a very special individual. Kevin Nichols is the Scout Executive of Mount Baker Council. He's the guy who runs the whole ship for our area, and I want to invite him up to say a couple words. So please give a warm welcome to Kevin Nichols.
Thank you, Ryan. Well, welcome, everybody. Glad to be here and glad to see everybody here. Especially glad that you're here because the whole purpose of this small little $1 million popcorn sale is to provide program for the young people that you are serving day after day, and providing a unique program that provides not only character education, which we all are concerned about, but lifelong learning, but also a building in them and an enjoyment of the fun and the excitement of especially outdoors. But at the same time, and you guys know this, you're actually educating them on how to be leaders and how to be invested in their community and do projects. That's what it's all about. It's not about selling a product. It's about providing a program for our young people. And that brings, of that $1 million sales, that brings $700,000 to our scouting program to invest in those young people, whether it's in your programs or whether we use it to enhance what we do at Fire Mountain or our support of your programs. So thank you for what you've done in the past for our young people. Thank you for what you're going to do today and ongoing. But most of all, thank you for what you're going to do in the future to build the citizens and leaders of tomorrow. Thank you, everybody. And I especially want to thank all our volunteers, especially our key popcorn volunteers, for making this happen. Thanks a lot, Ryan.
To build on that a little bit, I again want to sincerely thank everybody for coming out here today. Your presence here today shows us that you have a passion for scouting, a true passion. And now I assume that it's scouting that you have a passion for, because I don't know that anybody really has a passion for popcorn. Sorry, Rich. I mean, I volunteered to help lead this. My wife and I volunteered to help lead this for the next 2 years, but I would much rather be out camping for a weekend than stuck at a grocery store, standing on the hard concrete just to hear the occasional customer chirp, "How much?" Right? So why do we sell this popcorn? On any given weekend, scouts and their families are presented with a dozen opportunities to choose from: your unit's planned activity or something else. And one of the keys to maintaining and growing a unit and sharing your passion for scouting is to provide a program that is of higher quality and more exciting than those other opportunities. And while a scout is thrifty, high-quality programs take money. The money raised from popcorn sales enable great programs and amazing scouting adventures, and units can dream big, whether it's a Cub Scout day camp or a Scouts BSA summer camp, or a PAC's awesome Pinewood Derby celebration, or a troop's high adventure trip. And while other fundraising opportunities available to units might provide a higher commission on a percentage basis, popcorn sales are superior on a dollar basis. So just a little bit of math here. Most scouts will easily exceed $100 an hour in sales when they're out at a site sale. Assuming that your unit qualifies for the bonus commission, that scout is earning $35 an hour. That's an enormous wage if you think about it like that, right? Like if you have a job and you're making $35 an hour, you're doing okay. That's an incredible opportunity for scouts and units to earn money. During peak hours, it's often possible to more than double that. So with just a few hours from every family, you can fund an amazing program. The sky can truly be the limit. Further, this is in your guidebook, the specifics of this. I think it's really important that you and your families know this, that your unit's families know this. The council's 2024 popcorn budget shows that units and scouts are the clear winners of their efforts, because 37.4% of revenue flows back to unit commissions and scout prizes. Plus, the scouts also get the Amazon awards, right? So more money is delivered back into your units than goes to Trails End or goes to the council. This is all about the units getting the money and the scouts benefiting from it. And then, as Kevin also alluded to, popcorn provides significant support for the Mount Baker Council so that they can do all the wonderful things that they do to help and share our passion for scouting with our communities. Beyond that, we'll also talk about the benefits just for the scouts themselves. And I won't dwell on this a little bit, or I won't dwell on this very much, except to say that I am a true believer in the benefits that scouts get from this. They have an opportunity through popcorn to earn their own way, to pay for their own adventures. In my troop, in Troop 36, our mantra over the last couple of years has been, stop mooching off your parents. And we try to get our scouts to get out there and pay for the activities that they want to do. Obviously, there's a lot of work that's involved in this, so popcorn sales demonstrates the value of hard work. It helps young people learn how to handle rejection, which is not always something that our kids get an opportunity to experience in school. And if they're not involved in sports where they might lose a game, Like, this is really important at a young age to learn that hearing no is not the end of the world. And you can strive through hardship and still come out successful. And then, of course, there are the prizes, because those are really important also. And they should be an exciting opportunity for the Scouts to be rewarded for their work. So we're going to talk a little bit about preparing for the sales. And we've got 3 things that we're going to touch on real quick. We're going to talk about unit planning. We're going to talk about colonel training, opportunities for you guys to raise your game and help your units be successful. And then we're going to talk about getting scout and family buy-in, because obviously that's an important part of it also. I want you to pay attention to the words at the top here, ideal year of scouting. I think this is a phrase that you're all going to hear more about in the future. It's going to become more prominent in the information that Mount Baker Council sends out and how we talk about units putting together a year. And my encouragement for everyone is to dream big. What would be an amazing scouting adventure? And frankly, I think adults, leaders, popcorn kernels, you should also maybe be thinking about, what would you like to do? I think of 2 of the coolest things that I've done with my son in our scouting time. We did an overnight sleep-in at Woodland Park Zoo. That was an amazing blast. And we also went whitewater rafting on the Wenatchee River. Now, the kids loved those events, but I guarantee you that one of the reasons that they were recommended as options were because the adults thought that was pretty cool too. Right? So this is your opportunity truly to dream big and figure out what you want to do. Once you've gotten that schedule figured out, you need to plan a budget. You need to figure out what it's going to cost for the year. You need to provide a calendar so families know about it, so that they can get excited about it. Use all that information to set goals. You can easily divide your budget by the expected popcorn commissions and figure out how much popcorn each scout needs to sell. Then go out and raise the money. Conduct 1 fundraiser for the year so that you have more time for scouting. If you can get all the funds that you need in a 10-week or 8-week period this fall, then you don't have to do a subsequent fundraiser next spring to fill in the holes and to provide other opportunities. So after that, it's just about enjoying the year. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to my wife, Jalen, we are co-council colonels for Mount Baker Council. And Jalen has been the unit colonel for Troop 36 for the past couple of years. And she's going to talk a little bit about training opportunities that are available for unit colonels.
Good morning. So for those of you who are returning colonels, this looks very familiar, but for those that this is your first year, this is what your leader portal will look like. And you will use the Trails End website to do just about everything that you need to for popcorn. You're going to place your orders on there. You're going to manage your scout roster to make sure you've got everybody signed up that wants to sell. You're going to put your unit goals in there. You're going to definitely use this for inventory management. That will be a big part of what you do. You're also going to do your product transfers. So a little bit later in the season, you will be getting an email that will provide a Google Sheet link. And we will have tabs on there for product that's needed and product that you need to transfer out of your unit to help you manage your inventory. You will do product transfers between you and other units in order to make sure that you're maintaining your inventory. So all of this is going to be done through your leader portal. You will have all kinds of reporting available to you on there. And I've got on there, just so that you have it, the Trails End technical support email address. This you are definitely going to want to use as a unit colonel. It was something that I used. If I couldn't figure out a report, I would email them for information on how to pull a report. If something unforeseen went a little bit wonky, we had one transaction reversed last year, and we didn't know why. It was a complete accident, technical issue on Trails End, but I shot them off an email, and they were able to help me get it figured out. So you definitely will want to use that as one of your resources. And the other little note before I move on from this screen, unfortunately, the leader portal is not available in the Trails End app. The app is just for sales and the scouts. So you can use your phone to pull up the website for the leader portal. It's not the best. It isn't real mobile friendly. It does work in a pinch if you're out doing wagon sales with maybe your scout and you need to transfer inventory into the wagon. You can do that. But I would highly recommend that you try to use this on a computer as much as possible to make it easiest for you. But it does work on a phone in a pinch. So on the leader portal, you are going to want to use leader training. For those of you who are new, you will want to watch all of these videos that are listed on the left side. And that's how we started, was we sat down and watched all the videos to figure out the website. And then after that, we joined one of the Q&A webinars, which was great because everybody asks questions that you don't know or think of to ask. So you get a lot of information provided to you, but it's going to mean more for you if you've watched the training videos first. And they have redone a lot of the videos this year. So these actually will be loaded into the website next week. They aren't there yet, but they will be loaded into the website next week. And they keep them nice and short and concise for you so that it doesn't take that much time out of your day. But we do encourage, especially before signups start for the storefronts, if you're new for sure, you want to watch this to know how you will go about doing the reservations. And then there are some sale resources on there for you as a leader guide. There is a scout and parent guide if you should choose to share that with your parents at your unit kickoff. It's got some of the really high-level information that they'll need to go through the entire season. Then the next piece of technology is the Trails End app. And we can't say that we're going to require this, but we are ranked as one of the top councils in the country for our usage of the Trails End app. And if any of you have been here doing popcorn prior to the app, you know what an amazing tool it is to actually have the app versus what we used to have before technology. So we highly encourage that everybody uses the app. For going out to do storefront sales or wagon sales, it is the only way that parents can get those transactions logged when they are out selling. So we really encourage you to make sure that every single scout is signed up, that knows how to use the app. There are guides out there for parents if they're not sure how to use it, but all of your transactions need to be logged in here. So if your parents are at a storefront and they are doing cash and credit card sales, doesn't matter. When they have somebody that comes and says, I want a bag of the salted caramel, they need to go in and enter that. They need to choose if it's a cash transaction or a credit card, and it all needs to be processed as the sale happens through the app. Because then there's going to be an inventory count. So they can quickly look at the table and all the supplies they have, and they can continuously be doing an inventory count to ensure that they are managing the sales properly and that they aren't going to have offage of their inventory versus transaction. So that's very key for them being successful in how they run the site sale. So we highly encourage you to make sure that you have every parent comfortable using this, that they're all signed up, and you can use Square readers with doing the credit card transactions. So that's one of the benefits to using the app is you can plug in the Square readers, and of course, now between Apple phones, the new Apple phones, and Androids, that means you probably have to have 2 different types of squares and a connector. So you do have to make sure that you've got all that technology worked out and prepped for your parents based on the types of phones that are available. But having those Square readers and being able to slide through and do those credit card transactions is going to make things much faster, and you're going to have more sales because you're able to take the credit card. And all of the fees are paid by Trails End for the credit card. So it is a benefit to us to use that because they are paying for it for us. So the other thing is that they have that's new this year is that your unit, if any of you have looked on your leader portal, you're going to see on the left side a little bit different image this year with a code for your unit. So in the past, for your new scouts to sign up, they had to, you had to make sure that they had the council name, the district name, and your unit right. And sometimes that caused problems with getting new scouts signed up. So now there's actually a code that's been assigned to every single unit, and they just have to go in and put that code once you've given it out to everybody, include that in your unit kickoff, in your information that you share with them. And that way you can make sure that they're connected with you and showing on your roster correctly so that there aren't any issues with them finding your unit and being tied to your unit appropriately.
All right, let's talk a little bit about site sales. this is going to be a really important part of everyone's season, so it's important to be considerate and thoughtful about it. So before you reserve a site in the Trails End Leader Portal, you would need to choose your split method. We'll talk about this a little bit more and dive into it deeper in breakout sessions as well. But I want to emphasize that Trails End has crunched the numbers. They've done data. They've got charts and tables that were explained to us ad nauseum earlier this year. The data supports that the best method for selling popcorn is one scout and one parent per shift. Now, that might not always be available, and sometimes it might not even be recommended. On the very first shift, it might be really important that a new scout or a new parent have somebody else there to help them out. But whenever possible, we should be looking to fill a shift with one scout and one parent. That's an option that you choose in Trails End before you start making reservations. Okay, also on reservations, a couple things I want to point out. One, the calendar that is here and in our guidebook differs slightly from what Trails End has published in emails that went out to some of us. So in Trails End, in their communications, beginning on July 23rd, units could sign up for anything in the council. What we're asking is based on an honor system, because we don't have a way to restrict this, but we're asking for a 3-day period of the 23rd, 24th, and 25th to only sign up within your district. And then after that, if you need to jump outside to a different district to get the reservations that you need, you're welcome to. So I just wanted to call that out as a difference from what's been shared from Trails End. So a few other changes that are important to note this year. Trails End sets all our reservations for us. They build out all the shifts and all the reservations and the shifts in the system. They have made a wholesale change to every single council that they cover so that reservations are no longer a reservation on, take a Saturday for instance. They are no longer a reservation for the entire day. Okay, so for example, we would oftentimes reserve a Fred Meyer from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. Those are going to be broken up into blocks, reservation blocks. They're generally going to be 4 to 6 hours, and units can reserve them back to back. And in fact, thinking through a lot of logistics, and some of you experienced colonels might be thinking about this as well, that could create some challenges, right? I mean, if you have to change out with a different unit in the middle of the day, both units lose some sales time in those shifts that are next to each other to break down and set up. Also, what happens if you've got a morning block at Fred Meyer and an afternoon block at Ace Hardware? Now you got to break down your table and get it over to somewhere else. I admit there are some complications that are posed by this. I just want everyone to understand this wasn't our choice, okay? So we're going to work with it, and we're going to see how it works, and we have an opportunity to provide feedback to Trails End if it's not working next year, and maybe they'll make changes. So when these open up, this schedule here is also set by Trails End across every council. So on July 20th, units that had more than $20,000 in sales last year will have the opportunity to get into the system and reserve 4 blocks. Again, so realistically speaking, that's 2 days worth of site sales. And then it will have that waterfall effect. I won't go through every step there. Hopefully that makes sense. But I'm going to recommend that when possible, try to not choose just a morning shift at a place. If you think your scouts are going to be out there the whole day, then reserve the whole day to help limit some of those logistical challenges that might come up. All right. Moving on for the sake of time, let's talk a little bit about the unit kickoff meeting. I think this is a really critical part of the process. It's probably your opportunities to shine here the most and really get your units energized for this. There are 3 things that I think need to be established in a unit kickoff meeting. Number 1, you got to get the scouts excited. There should be all sorts of energy about the opportunities that they have to earn these amazing prizes and Amazon gift cards, etc. Number 2, you need to make sure that parents are comfortable and that they feel supported. It's not necessary to answer every question the first time, but please let them know that there are training resources out there, that you're available, and that the council has and districts have all sorts of resources to answer questions that come up. If they're not comfortable getting out there, standing next to their kid, trying to run transactions on their phone, they're not going to sign their kids up. So it's really important to help families get comfortable. Number 3, a recommendation, create boundaries for yourself. Make sure that people know that they can't call you up at Thursday at 6 o'clock and say, hey, I'm going to stop by in 30 minutes because I need some popcorn to take my scout on a wagon sale. Make sure that your units know what it takes to work with you so that you can be protected from burnout and fatigue through what can be an arduous season if you try to serve everybody all the time. I'm going to turn it back over to Jalen. She's going to talk, I'm going to turn it back over to Jennifer now. And we still don't have everyone, so I'll wait. Jennifer is the council's assistant colonel. She's filled this role for a couple years, and we're excited to have her back on the team this year. I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer to talk about some of the prizes that are available to scouts.
Good morning, you guys. He gives me far too much credit. I move boxes and come up with ideas. But rewards are amazing. How many of our Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts, Scouts BSA, how many of our kids are out there, they're working for prizes, right? They sell popcorn, they get money. Money is a little irrelevant to them. They like prizes. So they get 2 kinds of prizes. They get the prizes from Trails End, and then the council prizes also. For the Trails End prizes, we have cash, and then we have card sales. Cash is $1 a point, and then card sales are 1.25 points per dollar. So they're really pushing the use a card, debit, credit, plastic, to do your transactions with. So that's good for online sales. It's good for wagon sales. It's good for your storefronts. The thing that is new this year, we've had it for a couple years where you do the pay now, where you can convert whatever you have in cash into credit transactions, and that limits the amount of cash. But this time they're actually getting points for that. We've had a workaround for it, but it's an official thing now to be able to do that. So at the end of each shift, that parent can go in and say you've done $100 in cash. You can hit that pay now. The parent can keep the cash. The scout gets 1.25 points for their rewards. It's pretty cool. The design is to help keep less cash on hand. How many popcorn kernels have ended up with far more cash than you would care to admit hanging around until you can get to the bank, right? Yeah, exactly. There have been councils or units that have had issues with it, and this is to help kind of offset those issues and make it safer for everybody. Also new this year, we've got some bonuses that are pretty cool. If you have a scout that is can get the $500 per hour bonus, we've been at some site sales where you can get $1,000 in a 2-hour shift. You're hopping, but it's doable, right? So there's a bonus available for that. It does have to be 1 scout per shift on that split. You can't have 2 scouts working it. But you get an extra 0.5%. And so if you're doing card sales, that makes it 1.75 points per dollar. And then there's also $250, if the scout sells $250 or more online from July 1st to August 31st, they can earn 100 bonus points to increase their gift card. Just a reminder that I got from Jared, gift cards do need to be claimed by, Jalen's got it, I guess. Yeah, because that one almost got me this year. So next. Council prizes. We put some thought and a lot of effort into coming up with some council prizes and incentives. Popcorn's hard, right? So we came up with some incentives to get kids out and excited about selling. We've got our standard 1 sale, once you get a patch. And then our $750 prize level, is a reusable glow stick. These glow sticks are actually really pretty super cool. It's a necklace, and it will even recharge by firelight. So they're really pretty cool. We have examples of, I think we ended up with every prize, almost every prize, but they're out, the table that's out to the left. So you guys can look at that when you're done. $1,300 level is that next step this year for either the Scout Night to the Silver Tips or a camping hammock is the alternative prize for that. And then you also get one of the council shoulder patches. We did split the difference this year and added a prize level. So we have reduced the bowling party, which I don't know if how many people were at that bowling party, but it was a ton of fun. The kids had a great time at that lock-in bowling party. So it's $4,000 for the prize level for that. And then we have a $6,500 prize level, and it's a Slammo game kit. Then the $10,000 and $20,000 prize levels are staying the same for the year. So this is the cool part. A couple of us went to the national convention for Trails End down in Las Vegas this year, and we got to listen to lots of units come and talk about how their sales were successful and what they were doing to incentivize their scouts to come do popcorn and to get out and sell more. This was one of the ideas that we came back with. This is a weekly raffle drawing for scouts that are participating in popcorn, and it's not just top sellers, because that's no fun if you have the same, 10, 15, 20 scouts in every drawing, right? So we've got almost everybody. As long as you sell a thing, each scout has the opportunity to be entered into one of these drawings. It's going to be a different drawing each week of the sale, and it will be announced on Monday. The drawing will be on Friday, and it's going to be announced to the colonels and then through the Facebook page. Yeah. So that way parents can have that information too. But it's going to be things like if you sell $70 or get $70 in Heroes and Helpers, that's your entry into the drawing. Or every scout that completes a site sales shift that week is entered into the drawing. All scouts with more than $500 in sales. Those are just some of the examples. And then everybody that gets in, everybody that gets into their name in for any given week will also be entered into the council-wide grand prize drawing for the arcade machine. Now it is the raffle will be by district. So Salish C, you'll have your own weekly drawing. Pilchuck, you'll have your own weekly drawing. North Cascades, you'll have your own weekly drawing. So the scouts aren't competing against each other for anything other than the arcade machine. And then last, we are continuing the unit level awards this year, unit level prizes. We opted to do gift cards, so for either Amazon or for the Scout store, so that you could get whatever you need. If you still have Pinewood Derby cars left over from last year, cool. You can pick up something else and not just have to get a whole nother Pinewood Derby kit, right? If you're a troop and you've got camping gear that's still doing good for you, the Amazon gift card maybe will be what you need. Price levels are up there. It is for sales over growth, or sales growth over the prior year, and our minimum level for that is $2,500 in sales growth. So on that, it is going to go back to Ryan. Thanks for letting me talk about prizes, you guys.
Thank you, Jennifer. All right, so we'll talk about, round of applause for Jennifer. This next section here, we're going to talk a little bit about sales. We're going to review the sales methods, talk about some best practices, and then the payment methods and the 2024 product lineup. So I'm not going to dwell on this a lot. It's in your guidebook, and many of you know this from prior years as well. 3 main ways to sell popcorn. We sell popcorn at a site sale. We sell popcorn through a wagon sale, which is door-to-door, taking popcorn in a wagon, literally out to your neighbors. The site sales and wagon sales combined, we sometimes refer to that as traditional sales. That's part of the commission structure. So when you see traditional sales, it's talking about those two. And then there are online direct sales as well. Site sales are generally the most effective method because that's where you see the most customers in the least amount of time. So we're going to spend a little extra time talking about that as well. Again, there are lots of tips in the guidebook, and so we're not going to cover everything here. I do want to point out again, the preferred method is 1 scout, 1 parent per shift when possible. And just a few things that I want to highlight here. Under the prep, it says never put prices on the table, and I'm a big firm believer in that also. Some of you might have historically printed a little price tag that you display in front of the popcorn. I'm going to encourage people to not put prices on the table, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, the reasoning for that in a second. Under the scout role, I want to point out a recommendation for the families is to let the parent handle the money so that the scouts can get back out there and talk to more customers. Now, I'll admit, historically, I've had my son, I wanted him to have that sense of responsibility and that cash handling experience, so I've had him handle some of the transactions. But I do totally get this, because when he's doing a transaction, 3 people walk out of the store that he didn't talk to. So I think it's a great opportunity to just increase the number of people you talk to by making sure that the parents are handling the transaction and the kids are getting back in front of the customers faster. Last thing, in the parent role I want to highlight, I want everyone to encourage the scouts to ask everyone and consider ways to incent scouts through the tough times, through the no's, through the 25 no's in a row. Find a way to make that fun, create a game out of it. We've heard some wonderful stories about how troops quite literally incent their kids. If you hear 100 no's, you get a prize. And it helps them get through some of those rough periods that can occur. Okay? It's really important that all scouts know their pitch, that they know it really, really well so they can speak confidently, and that they can answer some of the basic questions that might come up. And that means that scouts are probably going to want to practice with their parents. The one important thing to remember, again, is I'm going to stress you have to talk to every single person. A person who is not asked is a person that will not buy popcorn from you. So make sure that your kids are prepared for that. Help them with their pitch. A real simple example is, hi, my name is Ryan. I'm earning my way to summer camp. Can I count on your support? And as most of you know who have done popcorn before, we're always talking about supporting the kid, supporting scouting. We never, never, never want to ask a customer to buy popcorn. We want to ask them to support you. That's the reason that you turn over $25 for 4.5 ounces of popcorn. It's not about the popcorn. It's about supporting scouting, and we need to be clear in our message about that. This is a personal item that I added to this slideshow because I think it's really important. When a customer asks how much the popcorn costs, I want you to encourage kids to reply, well, what's your favorite flavor? Mine is salted caramel, but we also have white cheddar. We have this really delicious s'mores popcorn. We've got plain popping corn or buttered microwave popping corn or whatever else. I'm forgetting all of them right now. The reason that I suggest doing this, rather than saying, this is 15, this is 17, these 3 are 20, and that one over there is 25. It's again, that is very similar to asking somebody to buy popcorn. You're now just reverting to a price and a product. And we want to avoid that a little bit, right? Not trying to deceive anybody, but we want to keep them reminded about what they're doing here. They're supporting scouts, and they're getting something that they really enjoy in return. So if the question comes up about prices, turn that back and get them engaged to thinking about what's their favorite flavor. If they say, I love white cheddar, well, you've got them halfway there, right? So then when you say, well, that bag of popcorn is $20, you might be less likely to hear, how much? Right? So keep it focused on supporting scouting and the delicious popcorn that's available. Don't obviously be deceptive with the prices, but don't lead with the prices because we are not asking customers to buy popcorn. We're asking them to support us. There are some wonderful videos available in the Trails End app that parents can access and that scouts can access to help them shows examples of overcoming objections. So some of these are really simple. Oh, that's too expensive. Well, it's important to know that 70% stays local to help pay for my camping and adventures. Oh, I don't have cash. That's okay. I actually prefer credit card, and we also take Apple Pay, Google Pay, and Cash App Pay. Oh, I can't eat popcorn. I got a tooth problem. You can still contribute to Heroes and Helpers. It supports scouting, and the popcorn goes to our military and first responders. Those things should be practiced along with the pitch, because I guarantee you're going to hear all three of these things dozens and dozens of times, and the scouts should feel comfortable being able to answer these objections that they might hear. Last thing to remember, always remember to say thank you. Teach the kids always say thank you, even when a customer says no. Let's talk a little bit more in depth about credit cards. Again, I want to stress the first, particularly if any of you are small business owners out here or have worked in small businesses, you know that credit card fees can be really expensive. Like a typical fee, if you go and get a coffee at a coffee stand, that stand is probably paying 35 cents flat fee plus 2% of the transaction cost is going to the credit card company. We don't have to pay those fees, right? Trails End is covering those costs for us. So we have no reason to not be pushing for card transactions. You can do manual payments without a Square reader, but clearly Square readers make it a lot more efficient than sitting there typing out a number. They're a little bit of an investment for a unit, but they're going to pay off. Square also makes readers that have the Bluetooth for the contactless cards and Apple Pay and Google Pay. Those can be really valuable, but they're also a little bit more expensive. And I think this is going to be really exciting this year. Trails End has a functionality that is not in the app yet, but will be before sales start, that will allow your scout or you to ring up a sale, maybe a bag of white cheddar, click a button, it will show a QR code on the phone. The customer can scan that QR code, a website with a shopping basket will show up that they can use Apple Pay, Google Pay, or Cash App Pay from that shopping basket. Okay? So I know we've lost sales in the past because people didn't have a credit card and they only had their phone. This is an extraordinary opportunity to capture those lost sales, and I'm super excited that Trails End is rolling this out to us this year.
So if you're like me, I'm like, how do you do that? I want to know how to do that. So with all of the training videos that are going to be released, there will specifically be a video that I'm sure parents are definitely going to want to watch that will show how to do the Apple Pay or the Google Pay. So you'll definitely want to watch for that and encourage them to watch that, because we do want to capture those sales that we have missed that way. And then if any of you have used that, we do a concession stand for our other volunteer work. And we have the Apple Pay set up for everybody to do that. We don't let them walk away with their purchase until they turn that phone around and show us that the purchase has been completed. So you'll also want to make sure that your parents do make that part of the process. We're going to give you this QR code, but once you've gone through and completed that, please turn the phone around and let us know that it is completed before you hand the popcorn over to walk away. So we definitely want to make sure. We assume that you should be able to see it also go through in the transaction, just like you can see when the credit card goes through and it's a successful transaction. I assume we should be able to see it in the app too, but the guidelines from Jared at Trails End was make sure that if they do the Google app or the Google Pay, that they turn it around and show you that it has gone through and completed.
Touching again real quick on cash to credit, was formerly called Pay Now or Parent Pay Now. Again, the way that it works is that, say at a site sale, a scout has sold a whole bunch of popcorn for cash. This gives an opportunity, instead of having to turn it into the unit colonel, who has to be responsible for managing all of that, the parent can swipe their card and keep the cash. A lot less cash handling has to happen. It's available to parents for 30 minutes after the end of the shift. I think what that's intended to allow for is families who may need to take that cash to an ATM and make a deposit before they can swipe their debit card. Beyond that, there's this other cool feature. Admittedly, we don't know 100% how it's going to work yet. We're excited to learn along with you, where leaders can do a similar thing. So let's say there's a family whose parent wasn't able to do the cash to credit, and at the end of a shift, the cash gets turned back into you. Rather than you depositing it in the unit's account, which then later has to cut a check to council and manage all that process, the leaders can swipe their own credit cards. If you play this right, you could get a lot of airline points. You can swipe your own credit cards and keep the cash, and you still eliminate some of your cash handling, right? Because again, you don't have to go to the bank, you don't have to cut a check to council, etc. credit is definitely best.
So one of the things that was brought up is if you do have a shift that's being split by 2 scouts, how do you handle that? Well, those parents are going to have to duke it out and decide which one of them is getting their airline points. So one parent is going to get to do all of the cash transactions that happen during that shift, and just like every other transaction, it will be split between the scouts. So one parent just needs to choose that they're going to do it, or if neither do and they leave it and everything comes back to the unit colonel. So if you end up having, you're lucky enough to get 3 shifts in one of your reservation blocks, if one parent, one shift does do this, but the other 2 shifts don't, if the unit colonel goes and does the parent pay now function, or I'm going to have to get used to the cash to credit function, it will take care of the entire shifts, all shifts in that day. So it will benefit all the parents who weren't able to do that, and the unit colonel will do it for everything that was cash for the entire shifts. And there will be a video on this as well. So just so you're aware, for the parents to know how to do it and the leaders, that was one of the first things I asked is, how does the leader do this? Because I would have wanted to know that as leader. And there will be a video that will show you how to do it. This should be released with everything.
I feel like we're talking a little bit fast up here. I'm realizing that we're supposed to be done with the presentation at this time and headed to breakout rooms, and we've still got a few more slides. So thanks. I hope you're catching notes. I hope you're taking down questions that we can follow up with you later. The speed of this might continue to accelerate a little bit. Product line is going to get a little simpler this year. No big snack-sized boxes, no combination gift boxes. There's just these 6 varieties. And that's all there's going to be. Also, I want to make sure this is known. There is no opportunity to order chocolate pretzels as an undelivered product and get them delivered to the council. Chocolate pretzels will only be available online this year. There is a change to the popping corn. It's going to $17 instead of $15. That shouldn't be a problem from a change perspective because we should be pushing for credit cards anyway, hopefully. And the Trails In data supports that units who have gone up in pricing do not see a reduction in the sale of popping corn. So it really makes sense to do this. There's also this enhancement on heroes and helpers. For those who have done this, for first-year people, this isn't going to mean anything to you. For those who have done this in the past, remember how you used to, at the end of a season, you had to order heroes and helpers donations, and you're like, what exactly am I ordering? That's all gone. It's going to process automatically. It should be a little bit smoother for us as well. A few things on online best practices. They've lowered the threshold for free shipping to $65. Lots of variety. In addition to popcorn, there's beef jerky, coffee, peanuts, almond bark, chocolate-covered pretzels as well. Great for out-of-town friends and family, obviously. We can cover more of that later if need be. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Jalen to talk about wrapping up the season.
Okay, so in the past, we all had to place our final order. But because we don't have any chocolate pretzels to be doing a final order, we're expecting that we probably aren't going to have final orders from you, because you shouldn't be taking undelivered orders. If you don't have a product, we need to get that product from another unit, from the district, from the council. So you should be able to be placing all orders with product being handed out, and we shouldn't really have any final orders. But if for some reason you do and you didn't collect it from another unit and you have an undelivered, we will collect that product and get it to you, or if we're out of that product, which would be fantastic, we will place a final order to have that delivered in November, and that's all in the calendar for you. But again, we should be hopefully managing our inventory really well, going to other units to either offload or get transferred in if we need something throughout the entire season, or talking to district or council to get anything that you need. To make things a little bit easier, we are doing a return policy. I know last year we moved to not having a return policy, but that makes it tough. I know as a unit colonel, because we had over 20 kids selling. We had kids selling the last week. How do you have inventory for them to sell in that list last week, but get down to a 0? So we're holding our donations to cover our buyout because we can't get to 0. So this year, you can have a minimum of $2,000 in return. Maximum of $2,000 in returns. So if you have helpers, well, actually, no. Yeah, you're right, sorry, maximum. So if you do heroes and helpers donations and you have a smaller unit and you only have $1,000 in helpers donations, that will be the maximum that you can return because we know that we have those donations to cover that return. If you have $8,000 in donations, that's great. We're only going to let you return $2,000 because we want you to still be managing that inventory so that council doesn't have an overload of returns coming back. So you can either have the total of your helpers donations or $2,000. That's going to be your marks for your returns. And we have a return window that's on the calendar that's in your book. We will have more details that will be released closer to the time of where and exactly what dates and how we will be taking returns back in. So we will get more information to you. But this should also allow for those Heroes and Helpers donations not being held to be processed at the end when you know that you have your inventory down enough that your unit is safe. We want all those Heroes donations, first of all, just to make sure everybody understands when that cash gets put into your donations, or they do, well, it would be the cash that goes into your donation bin. That cash is part of the popcorn sale. That cash is not the units. It must go through the app. It must go through and be marked as a Heroes donation. We've had that question in the past, and so I want to make sure everybody's clear on that. Those donations are part of the popcorn process and go into the app. But this way, you don't have to hold them to the end to put them through to make sure the unit's covered. They go in as the sales are happening, so your scouts can see where are they truly at as far as getting closer to the next rewards level, getting closer to the next council prize. Plus, if you have those weekends where it is a fantastic weekend and they're getting close to that $500 per hour sales to get the bonus, those Heroes and Helpers donations going in that weekend are going to be a benefit to your scout. So we want to make sure that we're handling those correctly. Okay, some of the next final processes is the rewards. So you guys lucked out because we were really going to push you this year on submitting for rewards. But then Trails In helped us out. So those of you who have been unit colonels in the past know that you can't just go in and release your rewards to your scouts until you pay. But they've done away with that. So even if you owe a payment to council, you can go ahead and release your rewards. So we're asking that you really, really push to make sure that those are released to your scouts so that they have them by Black Friday. We want them to be able to use them. We want them to get that reward close to the time that they did the work to earn it so that they understand the connection and why they're getting that reward. We want them to benefit from it. So that being said, as we took over, we reached out to Trails End earlier this month. From 2023, we had $2,400 in unclaimed rewards. So I know my unit probably did not appreciate me because I pestered the heck out of my parents all the way through November, or from the time I released them all the way through December. I didn't get my last one to claim their rewards until almost after the end of the year. But I didn't stop. I had a reminder set. I went in every single week. Who do I still have out there? I sent emails. I sent texts. So that being said, we sent out a blast email to all of the parents for those $2,400 rewards. We still have $1,000 in rewards unclaimed from last year. So tomorrow is the last day that those parents can go claim those. Some of them are $60 per scout. Some of them are the $10. The parents probably not going to go in and claim that reward for the $10. But we tried our best to send that message out to all of the parents that were on this list. Obviously, we didn't get all of them to take action. We got some of the largest ones. There was a $250 one that a parent went and claimed, which is great. So I have two asks for you. As a colonel, you can go in, you can look in 2023's transactions, and you can go to your rewards. You can go check your unit. There is over 24 units that have rewards unclaimed. You can go in and see who that scout and parent is, and maybe you will have better luck than we did getting them to go in before tomorrow and claim that for their scout. It's unfortunate because we want the scout to benefit from that. But my second ask is, as unit leaders, please have something in place where you pester your parents after the sale ends. Do not let them walk away from getting these codes for their scout because they will expire. And frankly, you guys are lucky, come January, you forgot about popcorn, right? We found out it's a year thing now for us, but for you guys, come January, you're going to forget about popcorn and you're not going to go back and check to see those parents go in. Your parents also are done with popcorn and they're not going to go in and check. So you want to make sure that you are getting them in there to get those. The next thing is the unit payout, and you're going to request your unit payout. So if you are doing credit card transactions, we are hoping that none of you have to pay to council. We don't want to take a payment from you from council. We're hoping that you have enough credit card transactions that you are all having to go in and request your unit payout instead. So you will want to make sure that that is something that you do as well at the end of the sale. This is just a quick look at the calendar that is in your guidebook. One little change, online sales kicks off on July 1st. Usually it's August 1st, but we are tying that in with the bonus that is available from Trails End. So online sales can start for your scouts who might already be set up from last year. If they want to go out and sell to get that bonus, they are free to sell, and that will count towards their council prizes. So you can see that our site sale reservations start on July 20th. Don't miss your date to be able to start going in and signing up for site sale reservations. Your unit orders are due on August 2nd to ensure we have time to get the order placed with Trails End. Distribution is going to happen, and you'll see a to be determined in your book for Salish Sea and Pilchuck. We are still working on finding a location, so we will make sure that that gets communicated to you because we do not have that location yet. So we're working on that. But once you've got popcorn, the site sales and wagon sales begin, and those site sales will be available to start. Once you sign up, you can have your unit start selling that very first weekend if they want to be able to sell. I know some of the packs start a little bit later, but if you want to get a jump start, you can do that at the end of August. And then we've got some of the undelivered orders due. Your last day of sales is October 27th. We are going to have a deadline for when you need to provide your choices for tickets to the Silvertips game or hammocks, because we are going to try our best to make sure that all prizes and patches are delivered to the units at the beginning of December so that those go out to the units before Christmas and before meetings end in December. This is just an overview of commissions for those of you who are new to being a popcorn kernel. Everybody's base sale for traditional sales, site sales and wagon sales, is a 30% base commission. If you hit all of these requirements that are listed here, which the biggest one is either selling $100 more than you did in your prior year, and your sales numbers from last year were given to each of you on a sheet at registration. So either sell $100 more in traditional sales or at least $15,000, and your unit will actually earn 35% commission on all those traditional sales versus 30. Okay, and then just a reminder for the distribution, it will be on August 22nd, and then site sales and wagon sales will start on August 23rd. We will be sending out a sign-up sheet for you to select your time slot that your unit will pick up the popcorn. We ask you not to be late. We're going to be trying to move a lot of units through to get popcorn picked up, and it takes a little bit of time to load. So please be on time. Please make sure you have enough vehicles to pick up your order. Those who volunteer to come and help us sort in the morning before pickups start will be given priority and be the first round of units to be able to pick up. So if you've got a couple people from your unit that say, yeah, we're great with coming early and helping get all of the numbers sorted for the units, then we're going to let you take your popcorn and drive off. So we would love to have you out there helping us sort, because it's a lot of popcorn to sort. These are also in your guidebook, but they're just the QR codes for the support. The Trails End support, which is great. They have a lot of FAQs. The Trails End Facebook. I don't know about prior units, if you have signed up for the Trails End Facebook, but I highly recommend it. A couple years ago, we were having some issues with Square readers not working, so I started getting texts from my parents that were out going, we can't do credit card transactions. I jumped on to the Trails End Facebook, and everybody else in the country was saying the exact same thing. And then all of a sudden, the workaround started getting put out on Facebook, and I was able to send it off to my parents to try and get them with the workaround as fast as possible. So highly recommend, especially for new unit leaders. There's a lot of resources from other units out there, sheets they've made for games to play with their units or motivational things. So it's a great resource for you. Then our Council Popcorn Facebook. We will also be making sure, because I know there are people who aren't Facebook users out there, so that's why our unit transfers will happen on a Google Sheet. We'll be doing communications through email, but we will also be posting things on Facebook at the same time. But also, if you are a unit kernel, You can use the Facebook. If you get stuck, you can't figure out how to pull a report, go put it on Facebook. See if another unit colonel responds and says, hey, go here, here, and here. That's how you get it. So it's a resource for you and a community for you to be able to reach out to the other unit colonels if you need help with anything. All right, and now we are to the Q&A.
Real quick before we start that, and everyone's hanging out in the back, but I'm gonna ask everyone just to turn around and acknowledge them real quick. Raise your hand when I call out your name. So here at the council, supporting popcorn sales at the council level, we have over here Mr. Rich Good. He is our Director of Development. And then in the back corner there, we have Melanie Rose, who is the Associate Director of Development. Volunteers at the council level are my wife, Jalen, and I, and Jennifer, who you met earlier. In the North Cascades district, our volunteer leading up the charge as district colonel is Suzanne. And Suzanne is being assisted by Olivia Garza and Sissy Brown. One of them is. Okay. In Salish C, a longtime glutton for punishment who keeps on doing this, Sean is our district colonel. And he's being assisted by Cora Thompson. And the professional staff in Salish C, the district director is Brian Lenhart. And then I forgot to mention the professional staff in North Cascades. Your district director up there is Andy Mason. And then for the Pilchuck district, first-year volunteer for us and new to our council, Deborah Atkinson. Deborah is being assisted by Roland Roth and Brian Piggott. And then our professional staff in the Pilchuck district, Bill Slater. So as you can see, there's a huge group of people here waiting to support. And what did I miss? Oh, Nick. Nick from the North Cascades as well. Nick, thank you. Thanks for coming. There's a lot of support around you, and I hope you'll take opportunities to reach out to us as time goes on to make sure that you feel comfortable and that you can help your units and scouts be successful. We are running behind schedule, and I do want to get to those breakout sessions because we have other important things to cover. But collectively as a group, are there questions that you want to raise up that you think we should address here? Yes? The question was, is there a sandbox or a place to kind of play around in the Trails End app so that parents can learn how to use it without making errors? There is not. That's a really great suggestion, though, and maybe something that we can pass on to Trails End.
The cool thing about the Trails End app is you can do everything in it right up, and nothing counts until you click that final button. And if you're training in cash, you as a unit colonel can go back and refund that. A little more difficult with a credit card. It's still possible, but you can play around in it all day long with no consequences.
Thank you. Other questions for the group? Awesome. Oh, yes. Well, I'm struggling to think of a reason that you would have to do it. Again, like we Yeah, understood. So I would distinguish that as like making a correction or dealing with a problem, and I think that's fine. What I would encourage everybody to avoid doing is sandbagging, purposefully holding back money to cover your inventory at the end. Shouldn't need to do that now because we've got a return policy and we've got district colonels that can help you get rid of inventory if you're really stuck with too much. I think the situation that you described, yeah, every once in a while there's going to come a situation where you're like, where'd this $20 bill come from? Well, I'm just going to run it as a donation. Yeah.
What we've done with our units is the cash transaction, when that scout was done, because we are in a troop, so it was one scout, one sale, they would put that cash donation into the envelope, and they would have a tracking sheet, so you could kind of see, well, what did inventory end up as, and you can try and figure out if you have an offage, whose shift it might have been that was off, because you can look at the transaction history. If you want them to hold those cash donations and not have them run them so that you have that flexibility to figure out if you're missing a bag of popcorn that you're going to need to buy out with donations, you could ask them to just hold those till the end, and you have it for each scout, and you could just make sure that they get entered for each scout, and you do the pay now function as the unit colonel. If that's what you need to do to make sure you have that flexibility to correct things, that would be an option.
Yeah, the problem with that is that it wouldn't count towards the $500 per hour bonus opportunity, and that would be, again, one reason why whenever possible, we should try to get those cash transactions in right away. Yes? Yeah. As a worst case scenario, maybe I'd still prefer that every scout just be ringing up their donations at the end of their shift, right? Parents walk away with the cash. Well, but if it's rung in, that means the parent swiped their card, and the parent should take the cash with them. Yeah. Understood. Again, I think one of the reasons for not doing that is that puts all the burden back on you guys as unit colonels to manage all that cash, to count it all up, to put it all. Now, if you just want the credit card points, that's one thing. But I mean, my goal is I want to make it easy for you guys, right? And so if we can not burden the colonels with all that extra work, I think there's value to that also.
And I think that this year for the parents, it should be easier to make sure that they're doing it correctly. I don't know about you guys, but I ended up having a lot of chocolate pretzels ordered last year when it wasn't being sold at a site sale. But that was one that got clicked on accidentally. It's not in the app anymore. So it is streamlined. You only have a few products. Talk to your parents. Let them know, look, we do need accuracy. We need everybody to be a type A personality when you're in there putting those transactions in. Make sure you're moving slow enough. Plus, I know in the past, a lot of it happened because you were tracking on a sheet. You shouldn't need to track on a sheet this year. Everything should just be put into the app as you're doing the sales so you don't mess up your sales. And that way they can continuously be checking the inventory to make sure that they are doing everything properly and that they have everything accurate. So really talk to your parents about this is very important when you're dealing with money and product. It needs to be accurate. Slow down, make sure you're putting everything in there correctly.
We're going to have additional time for Q&A in our breakout sessions and even afterwards possibly. But in the again, to be respectful of your time, a couple things real quick. If you were late and you, well, this is maybe more for the volunteers. If there were latecomers and you're holding on to their portion of a raffle ticket for the drawing, please make sure that that gets up in here so we can have them give the opportunity for a door prize. For now, what I'm going to ask is that if you are yes, we're going to start transitioning to the breakout sessions. Opportunity to use the restroom real quick if need be. Bottles of water right outdoor if you want to grab a bottle of water. If you are in a troop, representing a troop, we're going to encourage you to head over to the chairs and tables in that portion of the church back there. If you are with the pack, we're going to encourage you to stay here, and we welcome you to maybe move up a little bit closer as well. If you're here covering one of each, maybe choose what type of presentation is of more interest to you. We'll try to cover a few specific things, and we'll come back here for the door prizes and then our new leader optional breakout after that. Thank you.